Hey you Stygian dogs, it's September 24th and this marks the release of issue number 1 of the new Conan, Scourge of the Serpent event series from Titan Comics and Heroic Signatures. Titled Conan, Scourge of the Serpent Part 1, Stealing Faces and Finery, Jim Zub and Yvonne Gill have created something pretty special for fans of Conan and Robert E. Howard, and I can't wait to share it with you. You'll recall that the free Comic Book Day 2025 release brought us Jim Zub and Yvonne Gill's tremendous Scourge of the Serpent prelude issue. And honestly, what a superb free issue this was. Yvonne Gill and Jao Canola's combined artistic efforts got us hyped about Zub's ambitious plan to weave Robert E. Howard's The God in the Bowl, The Shadow Kingdom, and The Haunter of the Ring into a tale featuring Thoth Amon, twisting fates, and a terror beyond dreams. We'll take a thorough look at this issue number 1. But first, here are the covers that I was able to get my hands on. Here's cover A from Roberto de la Torre. It's exceptional. Cover B is from John McCrea. Geof Isherwood gives us cover C. And cover D is from Matias Bergara. Chris Stevens gives us cover E. And I simply could not pass up the glow-in-the-dark Roberto de la Torre variant. It's such a nice juxtaposition to his cover A. It's just so cool. I'm very pleased with all of these covers. Now, onto the issue itself. And here we go. I'll flip through the book, present a few close-ups of panels. I'll try not to read too much verbatim, but I will outline the general plot and happenings. I want you to be curious and to grab your own copy. Seriously, I implore you, buy these comics. They're fantastic. I want to give you a sense of how things look and to convey my excitement in a few summary thoughts, but be warned. If you want a pure reading experience, and I know you do, I would caution you about spoilers. If inclined, feel free to skip ahead to the conclusion. My review there will be generally spoiler-free. On the inside cover is an advertisement for a new era of bravery and heroism. These are all of the trade paperback and omnibus collections that you should have on your bookshelf. After that, credits for the teams at Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. Turning the page, the Numidian Chronicles, a map for wayfinding, and an introductory summary of events. Let's see what's written. Fresh from mythic adventures in the frozen north, young Conan of Cimeria's wanderlust takes him south to the Numidian principality of Numalia. A barbarian with no coin, no prospects, and an untamed thirst for wine and women, he embarks upon the first trade in his storied career, that of a thief. But when he finds only empty coffers in the home of his intended mark, Astrius Potanius, Conan's threats drive the terrified nobleman to reveal a richer prize, the Temple of Calian Publico. If Conan were to plunder there, perhaps he and Astrius could split the spoils, a simple enough scheme and one the Cimmerian readily accepts. Yet on this night, Conan's foray into petty crime will have consequences that ripple across the ages. In the Thurian Age, amidst the Picts, a people marked by their heritage and painted with the power of grand purpose, Brule the Spearslayer is tasked to visit the King of Velusia to learn if he is friend or foe. Gonar the Seeker advises him to speak the words so that all will know. Other warriors are preparing to quest upon time's great expanse. No past, no future. Now is all. Conan, Scourge of the Serpent Part 1, Stealing Faces and Finery. Grim Jim Zub, writer. Ironclad Yvonne Gill, artist. Visions appear in the shaman's smoke. A grand purpose for 3 men of 3 different eras. Their fates twisting together like snakes in a pit. Closing out the credits, Jumping Jao Canola, color artist. Rascally Richard Starkings and Comicrafts Titanic Tyler Smith, lettering. Calamitous Chris Butera, editor. Zub's story moves to the beginning of Chapter 3 of Robert E. Howard's The Shadow Kingdom, They That Walk the Night. An expectant Kull awaits Brule, an ally who will be known by the armlet he wears. Brule speaks the words so that he will know. Kanama ka Lajarama, those words familiar to a curious Kull. But there is much he does not know. A secret passage is revealed. As ahead of him this night are such deeds as no Atlantean has ever dreamed of. In the Hyborian Age, at the antique house of Calian Publico, the temple's owner struggling to open his new acquisition. Across space and time, the words are spoken. Kanama ka Lajarama, as outside a young Conan of Samaria proceeds with the plan set forth by Astrius Patanius, nephew to Nemalia's governor. And Zub brings us to the beginning of Robert E. Howard's The God in the Bowl. Eris, the night watchman, stands above the corpse of Kalian. In a page that echoes Howard's words, Conan is confronted, the corpse's identity is confirmed, and the clang of a bell sounds to summon the watch. Time marches ever onward, and as Gonar the Pict foresaw, time also stands still and weaves in upon itself. It is the year of 1934, of this, our common era, and Zub moves on to Robert E. Howard's The Haunter of the Ring. Gathered in John Kirowan's study, James Gordon flinches in fear as Michael O'Donnell presents an Afghan dagger recently added to his collection, the shocking reaction, a primitive instinct to being hunted. Hunted as retribution for a crime committed in a previous life. His great-grandfather had murdered his wife, and he is cursed to suffer in this incarnation for that terrible crime. Why, just this morning his wife Evelyn had tried to kill him. Kirowan seeks to know more. This morning, while in the bathroom preparing to shave, Evelyn appeared with his razor in hand, when, across space and time, Kanama Ka Lajarama, suddenly with pure hatred in her eyes, Gordon is attacked by his wife. Brule reveals secrets Kull knew nothing of, clandestine passages hiding slain Red Slayers and spyways. As Kirowan inquires into Gordon's enemies, O'Donnell reminds him of that snake, Joseph Rollock, with his strange streak of violence and fondness for Evelyn. Gordon dismisses the matter. Rollock has been friendly since he and Evelyn were married. In fact, he'd recently given her a ring as a peace offering. A ring? Questions Kirowan. What sort of ring? Through the spyway, Kull spies his Red Slayers, those he'd seen slain in the chamber below, standing in perfect formation. What sorcery is this? Brule does not know the full memory of man's rise, but he does know this. Men were not always ruled by men. Another hidden door, and a spy slit looking upon Kull's own bedchamber. Night and day the king is watched by many eyes, but not the ones he knows. A figure enters, his faithful servant, Chief Counselor 2, an ornate dagger in his hands. These fangs of the serpent will be familiar to readers from Conan the Barbarian number 18. In the parlor of James and Evelyn Gordon, Kirowan is curious to see the remarkable ring on Evelyn's finger. She'll have to offer him her hand, for try as she might, she has been unable to get it to move. In the Hyborian age, Demetrio the Inquisitor bids no one move. Taking stock of the crime scene, he questions the Barbarian, the Cimmerian. Conan is no dog to follow orders. He'd come to steal, of course, and had slain better men for less than this. Evelyn's ring. Exquisite, yet evil-looking. She can hardly bear to look at it. Kirowan is captured by the ring's emerald eye. He cannot, rather he is commanded to not look away from this point of no return. What the devil? A devil or a goddess it may be. When, in the Thurian age, Kull moves to slay the once trusted 2, he's taken aback by his normally weak advisor's speed. Stranger, too, is the sudden strength on display as Kull's initial attack is repelled. How could an assassin be so close to his throne? The king's instincts leap to life, the tiger who can never be tamed, his blade finding its home. 2 transforms, his human guise now suddenly serpentine. And this is only the beginning. And so ends issue number 1 of Conan, Scourge of the Serpent. What a sensational start to Jim Zub's story, and this is an ambitious one. It really is. Tying these 3 stories together might be a little bit easier to work with than what we saw in Battle of the Black Stone, but it's a challenge to make it work. What I really love about this one is the pacing, the rhythm to it, the way that time more quickly cascades as we move towards the end of the issue. These are three stories that I know really well at this point, and I really love what he's doing here. And I love the fact that he's introduced Gonar into the beginning of the story. It just rounds out the precedent that Howard set in his own writing for this sort of space-time adventure. It's a wonderful touch. And it foreshadows the introduction of Bran Mak Morn at some juncture in time. I can't wait to see what happens in the next issue. This is a good one. I'm really impressed so far. Join me in the conclusion for more thoughts. After the final page, an advertisement for the awesome Conan Battle of the Blackstone action figure. Check out my early access review on the figure. It's really cool. Pre-order ends on October 10th, so don't delay. As of right now, delivery is expected in December or January. It'd make a great Christmas present, just saying. After the action figure advertisement, this month's covers gallery. And there sure are a number of them. After the covers gallery, part 1 in a new series of essays by Jeffrey Shanks. This one is titled Howardian Noir, Mystery, Murder, and the Shadowy Secrets of the God in the Bowl. And we begin with a passage from Robert E. Howard's The God in the Bowl. With a heathen curse, Conan leaped back, whipping out his sword with a viciousness that made the keen blade hum. Back if you value your dog lives, he snarled, his blue eyes blazing. Because you dare to torture shopkeepers and strip and beat harlots to make them talk, don't think you can lay your fat paws on a hillman. I'll take some of you to hell with me. Fumble with your bow, watchman. I'll burst your guts with my heel before this night's work is over. Geof begins by noting that once dismissed as a strange hybrid of sword and sorcery and detective fiction, Howard's The God in the Bowl is undergoing a reevaluation as a key story in Howard's creation of Conan. Written in March 1932, it was the third Conan story completed after The Phoenix on the Sword and The Frost Giant's Daughter. At this point, none of these stories had been published, and Howard was writing into a void without feedback, and the Hyborian Age was still in a formative stage. Unlike the swashbuckling adventures of later Conan tales, The God in the Bowl is almost entirely set in one location, the claustrophobic confines of Calian Publico's museum. There is no sweeping battlefield, only Conan and a corpse, and the accusation of a murder he did not commit. It's not so much a whodunit, but as Mark Finn says, it's a how-do-it, a dissection of the machinery of civilized justice and how it grinds down the outsider, the poor, the regular guy. But it's also about what a barbarian can do back. Conan is the outsider, defiant in the face of the sneering elites. Truthful, he won't back down, and responds to the self-important inquisitor with fierce directness and a lack of patience for bureaucratic games. Simmering beneath the crime drama is something older, stranger, and more dangerous. Something unnatural has been loosed within the halls of civilization, a bowl marked by Stygian glyphs, possibly from the ancient lands of the ancestors of the Stygians, marked too by a symbol of a serpent eating its own tail, a symbol of the sorcerer Tathamon. Whatever was in the bowl is gone, not stolen or lost, but released. Shanks notes that the powerful and unsettling story was ironically rejected for publication by Weird Tales, along with The Frost Giant's Daughter, and it would be another 2 decades before it saw publication. Geof closes with acknowledging that today we see it as a critical early step in the development of Conan, not just as a character, but as the embodiment of Howard's cynical battle cry against a decadent and corrupt civilization. As always, Jeffrey Shanks' essays are a must-read. After Geof's essay, an advertisement for the Tower of the Elephant. This is just awesome. It's the illustrated edition. I've seen it firsthand. It looks gorgeous. I can't wait to buy it as a present for someone special in my life. Just wonderful. And then on the back cover, a new chapter of the Titan Comics and Heroic Signature's massive narrative event, Scourge of the Serpent Men. So this is a novel that's available for pre-order. It's a tie-in to this Scourge of the Serpent event series. It is Conan, Spawn of the Serpent God. It's written by Tim Wagner. This is something that we'll definitely check out later. In the lead up to this event series, we've looked at Robert E. Howard's The God in the Bowl, The Shadow Kingdom, and The Haunter of the Ring a few times. I'll include some links in the video description for you to check out. If you do want to refresh yourself on those stories, be sure to check out Lion's Road to Scourge of the Serpent series over at the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. But as it turns out, there's another Robert E. Howard story that's worth taking a look at going into this series, and that's Kings of the Night, first published in the November 1930 issue of Weird Tales. The first comic adaptation of the story appeared in the 1979 issues number 42 and 43 of The Savage Sword of Conan, written by Roy Thomas with art by David Wenzel. This story is an absolute favorite of mine. It's a Bran Mak Morn Kull crossover, in which the Pictish king Bran allies with Gaels and Norsemen against the invading Romans. Now, here's the fun part. Gonar, an ancient Pictish wizard and high priest of the shadows, who serves as Bran Mak Morn's mystical advisor, orchestrates a supernatural ritual to summon Kull from the Thurian Age to aid the Picts against the Roman forces. The Gonar in Bran's time bridges millennia, claiming descent from an earlier Gonar who advised Kull and Brule the Spearslayer. Indeed, Bran Mak Morn is a descendant of Brule the Spearslayer. And it is this latter Gonar, he who advised Kull and Brule, that Jim Zub incorporates into the beginning of Scourge of the Serpent. And he does so by directly mirroring the words of Bran Mak Morn's Gonar. There was no past, and there shall be no future. Now is all. All things that ever were, are, or ever will be, transpire now. The mystical character Gonar, at least a version of the character, appears in a few other Robert E. Howard stories, including Worms of the Earth, The Dark Man, and, though unnamed, he's also in Men of the Shadows. Gonar isn't exactly the same character through all of these stories. Rather, he is used as a device to blur space and time, and to reinforce the cyclical history of the Picts across Howard's mythology. He can be considered an emanation or reincarnation, which isn't surprising knowing what we do about Robert E. Howard's fascination with the idea of reincarnation. There are a couple of things that are thoroughly enjoyable about what Zub's done with Gonar. First, by including the shaman in the events leading up to the Shadow Kingdom, he's deepened the character's connection to the Thurian Age in a way that honors and fortifies Howard's own vision for the character. And second, it highlights Robert E. Howard's own precedent for bridging characters across time and space in the very manner that Zub is doing with Scourge of the Serpent. There's a lot more that can be explored with regard to Gonar, and perhaps he'll be a topic for future videos, but seriously, this was a magnificent touch on Jim Zub's part. I highly recommend checking out Kings of the Night. I think you'll dig it. I was fortunate to read it along with Men of the Shadows, Worms of the Earth, and The Dark Man in this classic Worms of the Earth collection. You can check out all of the stories except Worms of the Earth in Swords of the North from Robert E. Howard Foundation Press. Conan Scourge of the Serpent #1 is a thrilling kickoff to an epic event series that'll grip any Robert E. Howard fan. As Tothamon lurks in the shadows and the chant Kanama Ka Lajurama echoes across eras, Jim Zub begins to weave the God in the Bowl, the Shadow Kingdom, and the Haunter of the Ring into a tale of serpentine terror that spans the Thurian, Hyborian, and modern ages. Jim Zub, while successfully wielding his own creative sorcery, harnesses Howard's original prose in what feels like an ambitious love letter to the author's legacy. And it's a visually stunning one. Yvonne Gill's pages are densely detailed. As Zub says, they give a deep sense of place. And his lush line work combined with Jao Canola's rich colors simply capture the reader. They bring us home. They immerse us in the story no matter which era is depicted. It's wonderful. From Kull's midnight revelations to Conan's bold defiance and Kirowan's glimpse of eldritch mystery, this first issue is a feast of Howardian energy, and it's shaping up to be the Conan event fans won't want to miss. I can't wait for the next issue. Thanks for watching. Like and consider subscribing. It's been a busy month, and I'm hoping to release at least one more Sumerian September video on Howard's poetry. Don't forget to catch my review of the new Conan Battle of the Blackstone action figure. It's so cool. Pre-orders end on October 10th. And until next time, take it easy, you Stitchin' Dogs.